Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. I'm Uncle Taz, you with Donald, and that white guy, Rob. I want to say to all the dads out there, hope you all had a great day yesterday. I actually had a very nice Father's Day, except for the baseball. It was really the only down spot of the whole weekend. But it was also cheered up by a trade that happened yesterday that I think we should really start off with and get to the Yankees' lack of play. I don't know what team showed up in Boston, but it wasn't the New York Yankees we have been watching all year. But how I was actually shocked when I heard the news about Rafael Devers being traded to San Francisco after a Yankees sweep. And one of the things that we talked about after the series that happened in the Bronx says the last thing you want to do is let this team wake up. And how Devers is that guy that's been able to punish the Yankees over and over again, can lead the charge. And after winning, 5 of 6, they traded him away. And it doesn't make any sense why they would do it when you actually just got yourself back into a playoff chase. You have that much faith in the youth to be able to carry the whole team the rest of the season that once again Boston trades their franchise player. First, it was looking like Bogarts was going to be like their guy, traded him, and Mookie Betts traded him, and now Devers. So if you're labeled the face of the franchise in Boston, be careful because at some point you can be traded. They do not have any loyalty to the players that have been loyal to them, especially players that were Yankee killers. That, I think, was the most puzzling part of it. And Donald was nice enough to give everybody a Yank the Fight episode after the trade went down. So I'm going to throw it to Rob first before Donald gives a quick synopsis, because I'm sure if you want to hear his full review, you're just going to have to watch that episode yourself. So, Rob, what was your what was your initial reaction after the Devers trade?
I was a bit shocked because I'm thinking, why on earth are they? Why would they do that after a weekend like this? Had we swept them, it'd be a little more understandable. It's like
Mm-hmm.
maybe they feel like they just can't catch up in the
Not there
division,
yet.
but maybe a wild card chase. But they just put themselves back into the division, not let alone the wild card.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're right back in the division chase with the sweeps. So obviously there was some back and forth between the two sides because this was going back to when they signed Bregman. There was like, oh, is Bregman going to play second or is he going to play third? Where's Devers going to play? And then during the season when Bregman got hurt, obviously, or they wanted Devers to play first, and it was just a bunch of nonsense, and he said he didn't want to play there. And you felt like at some point they were either going to reconcile and work it out, or this was going to be the inevitable move, but I feel like they could have gotten a lot more. I like Kyle Harrison, but Jordan Hicks is pitching like complete and utter garbage. They got a decent prospect in Tibbs, but it's just like I feel like they could have gotten a lot more for a guy like Devers. And all I got to say is Craig Breslow's getting like multiple awards for me because not really any Yankees are going to get some awards. So I got to give the shout out to that GM. Thank you. Because even though we got swept, I came out of this weekend feeling like, oh, it's not the end of the world. We don't got to deal with this guy anymore. So, I'm shocked. I could not believe it. San Francisco just added a big bat. It'll be interesting to see where they play him because they have Matt Chapman, but maybe they DH him. They just traded Lamont Wade. I don't know if Devers will agree to play first there. There's a lot going on. It's a huge trade. It's puzzling that they have traded him as quickly as they did this early in the season, especially after a series where they just put like Red Sox fans were melting down on Twitter yesterday, and that came after a Yankees. Usually they're like celebrating, and they should be. They just kicked our ass. And now they're like cursing the GM's name. They're going a little excessive with some of the things they're saying about him, but like they're pissed, and you would never have expected that to come after a weekend where they just swept the Yankees and made the Yankees look like fools for 3 straight games, and then they go ahead and trade the face of their franchise, the top jersey seller. It's puzzling. I didn't see it coming. It's one of those moves in baseball where you're like, what the is going on, and I'm still a bit shocked, but I'm so happy he's gone.
Oh, I'm absolutely ecstatic that he's gone. If you had to say one player that will never be moved from a team, when it came to Boston, Devers would have been that guy. So there's no way they move on from that. So that made it like just that much. That to me, that'd be like the Yankees trading Judge. It would be something where you would just never see it coming. The Orioles trading Gunnar Henderson. Like these top tier guys that are just a menace within a division that always give you the upper hand. To just move on from that, it really. I think this is probably one of the more shocking trades that I've seen in years come from probably any sport. Donald, give us your quick thoughts on it.
I mean, I think it's a rug pull on their fan base, for one. If I was a Red Sox fan, God forbid, I'd be very upset. Um, Number two, the Yankees got a reprieve they didn't deserve this weekend. In fact, they've just been given an all-time reprieve. They've been given a golden ticket to go and win this division. They haven't exactly shown me that they deserve yet because they're below 500 against AL East teams, and they just got their ass handed to them 5 games out of 6 against the Boston Red Sox, and they've just been given the golden ticket because their biggest killer has been traded away for very little. Jordan Hicks, I'll tell you, that's a really bad trade. I mean, I know that the Giants are eating the entire salary, which is what they're going to use to try and kind of cover themselves with this trade. But I mean, if you look at that return, I mean, Harrison he's had a mid-4 ERA basically since he's come into the league. He's never had an ERA under 4. So he's kind of mid. And he's been sent down to AAA. So he's hardly ready right now. So the Red Sox just sent him down to AAA immediately after the trade. That's going to make Red Sox fans feel even better, I'm sure. Jordan Hicks is a 6.47 ERA. He's been absolutely horrible this year. And they acquired somebody from Single A, a hitter from Single A. That's not a lot. And another thing we've learned is that they didn't shop the trade. I feel that's malfeasance. There you go, Sunil. It's your favorite word, but it is malfeasance. You don't shop that trade. That's crazy business. Because I'm guaranteeing you, there'll be a lot of teams that would love the Rafael Devers if the biggest return is Harrison, who's been below average since coming into the league, Hicks, who's been flat, disgustingly bad this year, and a single A hitter who's years away. That's your return. You could get a bigger return. I mean, I'm telling you, man. If it was shopped around and the Yankees got in the bidding, there wouldn't be a prospect I wouldn't give up for him. Frankly, Devers is an absolute monster, and he's killed the Yankees, and the Yankees has been given an all-time reprieve. So, if I were the Red Sox, I would be very upset, but I'm not. So I have mixed feelings. I do actually have mixed feelings because I want to beat the best, and we haven't had the opportunity to beat the best because we've not once been able to get past Devers, and he's been traded away. So I have a little bit mixed feelings about that. But obviously, because I despise the city of Boston and I despise their fan base, and I despise everything that Boston represents as a city and Boston represents as an absolute fan base, I'm disgusted. And I love the fact that they pulled an all-time rug pull on themselves. That's hilarious. Oh, you guys are celebrating getting back in the division. Well, how about this? Your franchise players were traded away for a bag of baseballs. Enjoy. That is called talk about an all-time rug pull. So, I mean, obviously, as a Yankee fan and a despiser of all things Boston, I love it. But as a baseball fan, I think it's horrible.
Yeah, it's definitely a terrible look for the league.
Yeah,
and how these teams operate their trades. But there's no parameters that limit, where you have to make a trade within a certain parameter of a value. You could trade for, they could have traded him for cash options. Like there's nothing stopping it. It's sad that maybe that's something else that comes into the CBA with some of the trades and the value of it. But
Well, the
Yeah.
Yankees kind of benefited from it as well because they acquired Bellinger
Mm-hmm.
for literally nothing.
Yeah.
They
No,
just didn't pay the
every
salary.
team does it, but I'm saying
Yeah,
it's going to get to at some point, there's going to be it could become an issue.
but Bellinger's not even a tenth of the hitter
No,
that Devers is. Not even a tenth.
It can't be an issue if there's no salary cap. It's not like in basketball where you have to match
Yeah.
salaries.
That's
Or
right.
even in football, you don't have to match salaries. They just try to do that. But in baseball, there's no salary cap. So it's like if a team wants to dump a salary, they can do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a baseball problem. It's a Red Sox problem because no other team in baseball has traded their top guy, Chris Sale's included. They've traded Chris Sale as well not too long ago. So it's like it's really the Red Sox that are doing this. It's not like every other team in baseball has traded multiple superstars in the last decade. That's not happening. It's just Boston that keeps doing it.
yeah, they're more like an upper echelon version of the Marlins. When the players get good, they get out.
They're a feeding frenzy for the National League West, apparently.
It's almost identical to the Doncic trading the Mavs to the Lakers.
Yep.
Because they didn't shop the trade. They just traded away their franchise player, basically because they're pissed off at him. Which is exactly the same as this situation. They were pissed off at Doncic because they apparently didn't think that he was the fittest, even though he was by far their best player and absolutely roasting the league. And it's the same situation. The Red Sox are pissed off at Doncic, at Devers, because he doesn't play by their rules. So they didn't shop the trade, and they just took whatever offer they could get as quick as they possibly could. I can't. It's just awful. It's an absolutely awful way of doing business, man. At minimum, you wait to the trade deadline and you get as much as you possibly can for him, so you could get a bidding war. You get the biggest package you possibly could, and you'd still be competitive. I mean, I'll tell you what, I can't imagine there'd be too many Boston fans be happy today.
No, I don't. No, absolutely not. I think every single one of them, even some of the biggest, the bigger fans that are prevalent on social media, went from rejoice to just utter disdain for the timeline of events. And I know they wanted to call him back in and before going all the way to the next before getting on the plane, they called him all back to clear out his locker. And then they only sent I think they sent like a taxi cab. They didn't even send like a car for him. And then brought him back to the stadium to empty his locker. I saw there was a big to do about that. I'm like, if the trade happened that quick, it's not like they have a fleet of SUVs to go in just in case somebody's traded. Let's go get them. So I just can't wrap my head around it. It doesn't make any. I'm glad he's.
It was
gone.
definitely a win for Boston, right? Explain Boston. Explain Lou.
How is that a win for Boston? A killer in the division. He kills the Eastern teams. He's the face of the franchise. You paid him. He was a big part of the lifeline of the rivalry with us.
He was the modern day Ortiz.
Yeah.
Dude, they've only had 3 Yankee killers in their entire history of a disgusting organization. Manny Ramirez, Big Papi, and Rafael Devers.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, his numbers against the Yankees.
Traded away for nothing for Hicks, Jordan Hicks. That's not a win. You see, how many home runs did he have against the Yankees? 31, 32, 31?
31 he ended with.
31 home runs against the Yankees.
It's a full season's worth of homers.
Yeah, and he hit the last home run and pretty much, closed out put the sweep in their pocket the way the Yankee bats were hit. We're going to get to the Yankees in a second. Believe me. Man, what a trash organization.
Yeah, they are. They're a trash organization. They're cheap. It's true, though. They are pretty cheap. That's their raison d'etre. Hal's gone up in my rankings significantly.
Oh, he's definitely earning some stock.
Because he wouldn't have done that. No way.
Jonathan just wants to hear his name get called. Why don't we do the roll call now? Jonathan's asking for it before we get into the abysmal series by the Yankees. What's up, Jonathan? Because he was here at 11:45 last night to tell us that Devers got traded. Dev at 3:44. Yeah. Dev, get some sleep, but good to see you in the chat. Stevie B. We got Alex from Big Blue in the Bronx. He was listening on the way to work. What's up, Alex? Good morning, Dad. Good morning, Ken. Good morning, John the Beagle Dad, who told me that I should stop watching the Yankees for a little bit. No way, Jose. FJ, what's good? What's good, my guy? It's good to see everybody here with us on Monday to vent because this series, what's up, Doran? This series was terrible. And what's up, Lou and Acevedo and the usual suspects that'll file in as the show goes on. Let's talk about this Yankee team, shall we?
Well, this definitely was a weird series because the pitching was there. The pitching showed up. It was the offense, and I think everybody wants to say how all the focus went on Judge, and Judge deserves some heat for this series. But you're gonna have these series where he's not gonna be the guy to carry a team. There are 8 other people in that freaking lineup. So yeah, you could say that he was just a little less disciplined at the plate, but there were so many other opportunities for somebody else to pick up the slack, and just everybody just fell flat on their face at the plate. It just seemed like there was like zero effort or interest every time they stepped into the batter's box. It's like they gave up. They saw that they were facing some good. I think having Crochet right out of the gate, I think just deflated the entire offense. And they just never were able to get themselves back into a rhythm where they actually took the time to stay patient.
I think Aaron Judge is the only player on this offense that is absolved from any blame for a while, at least. You don't hit 400 for 2.5 months and be like, oh, it was fuck this guy. I know he didn't have a good series, but he also gave us probably the best moment that we've had this season. So I think he should get a little bit of an excuse, a little bit of a reprieve from the bashing. The 2024 Yankees came out to play this weekend. Anthony Volpe all over the field. I don't know what he was doing. He's stealing third when he shouldn't be stealing third. He's forgetting where the base is. Trent Grisham's throw is just kind of like, here you go. And then Volpe's just like, what do I do now? Ben Rice is halfway to third for some reason, getting picked off. Jason Dominguez forgets how many strikes there are. The team can't field. Aaron Judge was far from this team's problem. I know he had a double play yesterday, and he struck out more times than we can count. But look at the rest of the lineup. Nobody came through except for him. There was a point when he hit that home run, he was the only Yankee with an RBI for like 33 innings. So, and they almost came back, and then they didn't. They had multiple chances. Volpe's grounding into double plays, and it's just like, it was ugly. It was ugly. It was embarrassing. And I can't help but think, like, ever since they switched Jazz to third and went back to the ways of last year, everything's just kind of fallen apart again, because we weren't seeing this for the first 2 months of the season. Like, there were some hiccups, yeah, but they were playing a relatively clean brand of baseball. They weren't making these fielding mistakes. They weren't making the base running mistakes. It happened here and there, but you're like, that's just baseball. But for it happening multiple times throughout the course of one series, and it's just where like 3 times a game, you're like, what the hell's going on? Like, why is Volpe stealing third? Why is Boone encouraging it? Why is Dominguez forgetting how many strikes there are? Why is Ben Rice halfway to the bag when you're struggling to score runs? What are you doing? Why is Grisham just kind of airmailing one? And then why is Volpe just kind of like, what's happening here? Why is this team just suddenly in the middle of June, like every year, forgetting how to play the game? So there's not just one player you can pinpoint. I know Volpe had more mistakes than everybody in this series, but it's like the entire team, defensively and offensively, was atrocious. They were a joke. Nobody came through. a couple of moments here and there, but nobody played well. I feel terrible for Max Fried. I feel terrible for Rodon because he got a bit unlucky. Christian Campbell sticks his foot out and gets first base, scores what ended up being the game-deciding run. They get a double down the line that shouldn't have been a double because DJ got robbed the night before. So it was just a mess. It was really, really bad. It was a bad brand of baseball. I feel bad for the pitchers. Yarbrough did fine. Rodon did fine. The bullpen did its job. They kept us in the game, kept giving us chances, and the offense said we don't want to do it. The fielding was atrocious. The base running was atrocious. Everything the Dodgers said about us in the World Series last year reared its ugly head in this weekend series. There's no excuse for it. I don't think it's the end of the season. I don't think it's the end of the world, but they better freaking get on top of this. And we've been saying this for the last 5 years on the show. I don't think we have the leadership that's going to get on top of this. I don't think the manager is going to get on top of this because he's like, what mistakes were made? Well, I just pointed out 4 of them to you. You wouldn't steal third? No, because you don't make the first or last out of third. That's the old saying, right? Well, Volpe made the first out of third 3 nights ago, in the extra innings, and then Rice made the last out of third yesterday. So they did both in the same series, and Aaron Boone's like, what mistakes were made? How can you excuse that? How can you excuse that? I'm baffled, like how badly this team played. It was disgusting baseball. I feel so bad, and I can't say it enough. I feel so bad for Aaron Judge that he has to be the only guy on this team that has to come through, because if he shuts down for a series, look what happened the last 4 games we played. Kansas City, even though we won, they scored 1 run in that game because Judge didn't play. Judge has 1 good swing this series, and they scored 1 run, which is his only run. Then they barely scraped a few in game 2, and then yesterday they got shut out and swept. So if Aaron Judge isn't hitting, this lineup ain't hitting. And that's scary. Now, I know Big G's coming back, like Doran's just saying. Thank God he is, because anyone that says we don't need him, go take a hike, go kick rocks, like NFE likes to say. But it shouldn't be that 8 other guys just forget how to hit when the best player on the team has a bad series. He's had 1 bad series this season, really, and that came in this series against Boston. And everyone else is just kind of like, well, where he goes, we follow. And the worst brand of baseball we've seen since the World Series last year. It was terrible. It was disgusting, and that's my rant. I can't excuse anything from this team this weekend.
Where I knew things were really going to go wrong, and I just put a really bad sense on everything, was the Volpe stolen base attempt. That was where I was like, all right, this is not the team we just watched sweep the Royals. You know, in the Royal series, you saw that, like, their heads were in it. They were methodical. And this time they were kind of, they seriously laid an egg. You're already in scoring position at second base. So why are it's not like, there's, 1 out and you just want to be able to, if you get a fly ball for a second out, at least you have the option to tag up. But 2 fly balls scores that run anyway. 2 outs in the outfield scores that run. This Volpe does have the speed. He just doesn't have the base running smarts to execute it. That was when I was like, this is going to be bad. Especially, and I was actually feeling a lot better after Judge's home run. And then for that to happen, it's just unexcusable. Donald?
Yeah, I've got a list of words here. Important points. Let's start with sloppy, because that's what they were. Sloppy. Ben Rice just wandering off into the elements. Anthony Volpe just wandering off into the elements. Jason Dominguez forgetting how many strikes there were, forgetting where he was in the situation. Sloppy. Anthony Volpe, again, another error yesterday where he went to try and handle the ball, tried to glove it, couldn't, then tried to get it, couldn't. Sloppy. Just this team was sloppy. It's as sloppy as you're ever going to see. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's not, because we did that in the World Series, the entire World Series, right? Okay, so maybe not. But this is what is the this is what the MO is with the Aaron Boone team. It's sloppy, and he's totally cool with it. So it's sloppy blunders, and that goes along with gaslighting. Because what did Meredith Marakovich say to Aaron Boone in the postgame? I don't know if you guys watched the postgame. Meredith Marakovich, she asked him, "What about these base running blunders?" He was like, "What blunders?" And she was like, "Well, Ben Rice, Anthony Volpe. Volpe wasn't a blunder. You tried to steal." I mean, he's basically trying to tell you what you just saw didn't happen. You know, he's trying to tell you that those base running blunders, those 3 base running blunders, probably more throughout that series. Apparently, that didn't happen. There was no blunders. Well, no, there was Dominguez. He's like, well, yeah, okay, Dominguez. So, I mean, he basically tried to gaslight us that those blunders didn't happen. They did happen.
It was clear as day.
Absolutely. So you've got a manager that's trying to gaslight the fan base that those blunders didn't happen. Trying to gaslight Meredith Marakovich. She deserves better. She's very good at her job. And she just asked him a very simple question, and he was snappy with her. So I'll be snappy right back. You shut your mouth. You absolute liar. So, blunders. Lazy. Grisham. Just lazy, throw to second. Anthony Volpe. Oh, well, Fenway's really nice this time of year. Oh, shit. Where am I standing? Oh, lazy. Lazy approach at the plate. Just let's get out of this game. Let's just go home. Crochet had a perfect, complete game shutout until Aaron Judge came to save the day in the 9th inning. Otherwise, you would have had a complete game shutout. Very quick, too. And then the same with most of the pitching staff. In fact, all of the pitching staff this series. Lazy approach at the plate. Lazy approach in the field. Just generally lazy. Anthony Volpe, I don't know what planet he was on this series, but he was not locked in. So, lazy. Unprepared is another word I've got for this team. Unprepared. They were completely unprepared for this series. And that speaks to our manager. This is a manager that everyone's best friends with, but no one fears because he's totally cool with it. But they were unprepared. They didn't know. They still don't know how. I know I've got so many words to say, but I just want to figure out what does Alex Cora do to Aaron Boone. It's kind of like the Water Boy when the Fawns, the coach and the Water Boy, he's terrified of the opposing coach. It's almost exactly the same. Like Alex Cora does something to Aaron Boone, and Aaron Boone just shrivels up into a ball because Alex Cora manages the piss out of him, and it's quite remarkable. It's amazing. I've never seen a manager just like slump because that's just what happens to Aaron Boone. It doesn't matter, and it's exactly the same as what happened last year because me and Rob called last year's game. Remember, we Yankees were riding high. We're facing the Red Sox, who are a really bad team, but the Red Sox figured out that the Yankees had a ton of holes, and they just pressed it. The Yankees imploded, and that film was used.
They stole like 9 bases, right?
They stole like 9 bases, 10 bases. They stole 42 bases, and that film was used for the Dodgers to go and kick our ass in the World Series. And guess what's just happened this time? Same thing, Alex Cora. Oh, well, this Yankee team is actually quite lazy, really bad on the base pass, totally unprepared for us. Now that game film is now available for any good team that's going to take us on in the future. So great job, Aaron Boone. Completely unprepared, and he's totally cool with it. Because if you don't think he's cool with it, just ask him. What do you think about Volpe stealing third? Loved it. You fucking joke. Disinterested. Because that's what they looked like. They looked disinterested. They really did. They looked disinterested apart from 2 dudes. Aaron Judge and DJ LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu got himself thrown out because he was pissed at being robbed of a double that could have won us the game. He had every right to be. He was locked in. Aaron Judge pimped a home run. He was into it. And I completely concur with Rob. If there's anyone that going to absolve of any criticism is Aaron Judge. He gave us the moment of the season, and he's been batting 400. You know what this tells me? This is what it tells me. This is what our lineup looks like when Aaron Judge doesn't bat 400. This is what it looks like when Aaron Judge is not absolutely nuclear. And that is a problem. That is something that is an issue, and that is something that the Red Sox have exposed. If you can find a way to get Aaron Judge out, the rest of this lineup is incredibly mediocre. Incredibly mediocre. The Royals found that out. The only time, remember Game 3 against the Royals when we benched Aaron Judge and a couple of regulars? We wouldn't have scored if we were playing till today. The only run that we scored was because Pablo Reyes fell on his ass, fell right, left, center, got up, and then the Royals were just as bad, so he scored. But that was base running blunders as well. So this is part and parcel of an Aaron Boone team. Blunders, unprepared, disinterested, and is being carried by Max Fried and Aaron Judge, and they have to carry a hell of a load. And I'm hoping Big G can handle some of that load, but the truth is, Aaron Judge has to bat nuclear 400 in order for us to win enough games. Ran over.
Yeah, no, it's all fun. It was all fun when everybody was riding on the same high. And Goldschmidt was batting, around 350, and Judge definitely over 400. Like, guys were really contributing and playing well. And you have to. This is where Boone is he plays checkers. He doesn't play chess. He doesn't think, points ahead where, games ahead where you want to strategically, rest some guys or decide not to rest some guys. Maybe sit and Judge, giving him that day off before the series, just backfired, and it's going to happen. Not everything's always going to go perfectly to plan. But you have to plan accordingly and just ride or die with it. The fact that he just wanted to completely dismiss the terrible baseball from his club that he leads, or lack of leadership, just mean it's all. We're all watching the same freaking game. We all see the same mistakes over and over and over again. And what really pissed me off is not the fact that he wanted, he thought that the steal from Volpe was a good idea.
Disgraceful.
Right? I kind of forgot about that when you're seeing Dominguez jog back into the dugout and Boone's just staring at him, not even uttering a word. Like, no, you grab him and you what the fuck were you thinking? Don't. Sometimes you have to just grab them and just set them straight. You can't just be dismissive of every little thing because you don't want to be looked at as the bad guy. Sometimes a good leader has to be the bad guy once in a while. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the players will respect him even more. To just say that him just staring at Dominguez. And then the same thing with, you didn't say a word to Rice either. You can't do that. You have, at least ask them a question while they're walking in. They walked right past him. He didn't look like he was a stone. To me, that's just as inexcusable as anything.
It's been inexcusable for 7 going on 8 years now. So, I mean, this is what we deal with, and that. I don't think Aaron Boone is the worst manager in the world. I know we can be in far worse spot in terms of who we have at the helm, but it's things like this that we've been complaining about now on this show for 5 years. And prior to us doing the show, I'm sure we were all complaining about the same thing, just in different parts of the world. So this is what he's been doing. This team hasn't had any sort of extra oomph to get to that next spot. And I saw an earlier comment, I think, from Dorn. It's like we have some younger players coming up, and I don't know if Boone's the right guy. And I completely agree, because why is it that Volpe, who was once a top prospect in baseball, is having these mental lapses so soon? Why is Dominguez having these mental lapses? Why is Ben Rice having these issues? these are guys that are supposedly, hopefully, going to be part of your core for the future. At least that's what you hope for when you call these guys up, and then eventually Lombard and Spencer Jones and whatever pitchers might make the major league roster if they do. If this is what's happening once they hit the major leagues, it goes back to everything that we heard a couple of years ago. I can't remember who the player was, but a former Yankee minor league player was like, they don't teach this stuff in their system. So it proves, I wish I could remember that player's name, but it proves everything that player was. It was a
Devin Cernan article, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe it was. And I think it was in like a YouTube chat as well. I can't remember who exactly it was, but this person was saying like they just don't teach these things in the minor leagues. And you see that when they come up, they have these mental lapses left and right. And like Anthony Volpe is, to me, he's a good defensive shortstop with at least an average bat. And yet you're seeing him just forget how to play the game that he's been playing his whole life. Ben Rice, he goes through one rough patch in his season and people are saying he stinks, but he's just wandering off. Jason Dominguez forgets how many strikes there are. There's a scoreboard behind him. You know, like, just look back and be like, okay, it's 2 strikes, it's 1 out. It's like, what do you do? How are we not teaching the fundamentals of the game? It might have been Ben Ruda. Ben Ruda. I think that name sounds familiar, Luca. Thank you.
It rings a bell.
So yeah, it's just, it goes back to that, and it's just, I can't. It's obviously true because look what happens to every time, and you only see that. You don't see that from Judge. You don't see that from Goldschmidt. You don't see that from LeMahieu even, but you're seeing it from like the younger guys on the team, and it's concerning because what's going to happen when Spencer Jones comes up here? Spencer Jones is leading minor league baseball, or at least all Yankee minor leaguers in home runs. Lombard's finally starting to get going in Double-A, and he's looking really good. What happens when they eventually come up here? Are they just going to start having these mental lapses? Because Boone's not going anywhere, guys. Everyone's saying get rid of him. He's got like 3 more years. They extended him. So what's going to happen when they come here? It's concerning, and it's overdue. 7 years of this, and we're still just being like the same strategy works. It's
same conversation.
Yeah. How many times can we keep in the same time of the year? Every single year. Yes. It's this time of year. Is it the heat? I don't know what it is. Is it the heat getting to his head?
Point, like complacency is the word because it always happens. Every single summer, the Yankees build up a certain lead in the division, and they get very comfortable, and then they start giving out random routine days off, and then big series comes along, and they just don't turn up for them. And Aaron Boone seems perfectly content with it because Aaron Boone, again, was asked this. I hated that post-game press conference because he's like, oh, we're a really good team. So did you have any concerns? No, we're just a really good team. All he just kept saying was, we're a really good team. We're a really good team. It just reminded me of, be round the corner, be round the corner, be round the corner. And it was just like,
right in front of
there
us.
has to be some level of urgency. There has to be. Just played the Red Sox. You have to take those series seriously because it does affect the momentum. It's bizarre. So, Rob, you're spot on with a lot of your points there. Is Aaron Boone the right guy for these prospects? I mean, and like people that are like big proponents of him and obviously big fans of him, and people in the organization will say, yeah, because he's your best friend and you'll help them and all that stuff. But you also need to hold them to some kind of level of account and hold some kind of level of standards. There has to be some kind of level of standards that if your standards drop and then you start getting lazy and then you start like wandering off into the elements, which was happening on multiple occasions over the weekend, that your manager is going to have some shit to say to you. And it's going to not be pretty. They need to know that. They need to know that, but they don't know that. And that is just what has been going on, and it's been going on for years, and it's been going on for years. I don't imagine that Anthony Volpe is nearly as dumb as he made himself look like this weekend. And it's the thing is, I mean, Doron's mentioning like Rick Reggio and all that stuff. We do fine with developing prospects. It's once they reach the majors, a lot of them take a step back. And a lot of it is because I don't think that we have the same intensity in terms of development once they reach the big leagues, once they reach the majors. And Aaron Boone is everyone's best friend, which is lovely for about 50% of the time. But the other 50% of the time, you really need to start digging into dudes. And I know Brian Cashman doesn't want that, but you kind of have to. Because this shit has been going on for years. Years. And it has been, man. I mean, what are we doing? And the thing is, I don't mind that maybe Aaron Boone didn't say anything to them at the time. But it crossed my mind back, and I mentioned this in my show. Remember when, because I remember Derek Jeter said it. When in his rookie year, he made a terrible base running blunder, right? And he knew he made a blunder. And he looked over at the dugout, and Joe Torre had a face of thunder, right? So the way he's like, he didn't want any shit from Joe Torre. So what he did was he just sat beside Joe Torre and just kind of, Joe Torre just kind of had like a wry smile, just like, all right, get out of here. But it was that kind of fear, respect that you need. Do you guys understand what my point is? Like, you need to have like a level of fear/respect plus love for you to be like, I'm never making that mistake again. And it will never happen. And it never did for the rest of Derek Jeter's career. And that's the kind of stuff that needs to come from your manager. Not just, hey, I can't wait for us to go and watch our favorite series together and have some ice cream and talk about your girlfriends. That's the kind of shit that Aaron Boone does, and that doesn't help. You need to have a manager where you're like, oh, I just screwed up. My manager is going to eat me alive after this game. Right. That's never going to happen again. You need to have that. Every team needs to have that. Alex Cora has that. Good managers have that. Aaron Boone doesn't have that in his locker. And that's it. I don't mind that he didn't chew him out in public. He doesn't need to chew him out in public. But there needs to be it needs to happen after the game. And I need to hear that from Aaron Boone. Not to say verbally I chewed him out, but to say, trust me, we had these conversations that will never happen again. If he says that, then we know what happened. But he didn't. Why? Because he's like, oh, I loved it. He tried to steal third. Loved it. Hell yeah. You didn't like it? No, I didn't like it. It's against the fundamentals of baseball. You moron. No, I didn't like it.
Yeah, even if you would have just said no, I would have preferred it in a different situation. Like, you don't have to say, like, it's the wording he uses, just absolutely baffles all of us. And the sad part is, it just gives more fuel to the fans to just really, get on every. Now it's open season and they pick every single mistake, no matter how small it is, and just make it explode. Like it's this big problem. This could be the only series where they have this type of series. They could be fine the rest of the way and just go on another stretch where they win 8 of 9 series in a row where they're looking really good. And it'll always, but they can't beat Boston. And this is just something that's going to haunt them the rest of the year until they able to get their revenge. And I don't see where, with this leadership, they're going to be able to seriously correct everything that they need to.
Well, Taz, I want to jump on that though, but we're below 500 against teams in the East, and we also got beat 18-2 off the Dodgers. So it's clearly not just a Boston problem.
But that's what I'm saying. They'll just sit on the smallest thing, and they'll say that this is the reason why.
I don't understand your point though. It's not a small thing though. I mean, these are big series that we're not showing up for. What do you think?
Maybe I'm not getting my thoughts right, because I had an idea of what I wanted to say, but it's not coming out right.
Nonetheless, they could win 8 of their next 10, but it's kind of like 09. Remember, we couldn't beat them for the first 8 games, and then we beat them. So maybe in the second half of the season we beat them. Who knows? I don't know how many more times we play them because the schedule's different nowadays, but we should be able to at least take a game. Like, it wouldn't be that going 2 out of 6 is not great, but at least we didn't get swept, right? At least there was some fire. Like, had we taken game 1 of that series and fought back and be like, all right, that's a little respectable, because we only lost by a handful of runs. It wasn't like we were getting blown out. It's just the mental. We handed the series to Boston, basically. We said, here, take it. We don't want it because we're going to run ourselves out of the game. we're not pitching ourselves out of the game. We're just going to swing at everything bad. We're going to hit in double plays. We're going to not field. We're not going to run the bases well. We're going to forget how many outs there are. We're going to award you second base for some reason. Damian brought it up. We're going to pitch to one of your hottest hitters for no reason at all in Narvaez with the game on the line. So anyone that was saying that was an Ausmus decision. So that's why I did not like when people were like, "Oh, Ausmus will just take over." It's not like it's going to get much better because what do you think who do you think he's learning under right now, even though he was a former manager? It's Aaron Boone. So it's an organizational thing, and it's been going on for far too long. They've become very complacent. There's that word again. And unfortunately, we have to do this every year around the same time. Now, can they go and beat the Angels 3 out of 4? Sure. Can they go and beat Baltimore? Sure. Can they go and beat Cincinnati? Sure. We can maybe forget about the series. I would hope so, but we've had the same conversation now for the last 3 seasons where around this time, they just forget how to play the game. And we think it won't be that big of a deal. It's one series, and it becomes a big of a deal because by the time we reach the deadline, this team is still struggling. I hope this is the year that they break that curse, but it seems like it's starting up again. Now, we'll see how they do against the Angels because it hasn't been a terrible month. I know the Dodgers series wasn't great, but they did beat the Mets, they beat Texas, they beat Colorado, they beat the Angels, Cleveland, Kansas City. So it's not like they're losing in the month of June. But this series hopefully won't be the start of another June swoon and they can finish out the month strong. We'll see. I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm not happy. I'm 1,000% not happy about the series at all. And I saw Lou's earlier comment. Volpe deserves all the criticism in the series. There's no defending him. I can't defend him. So he said, don't let Donald mess with your boy Volpe. I told him, go full out because it seems to make him play better when Donald's just full-on hater on him. But, I can't excuse Anthony Volpe. But we only got a few minutes left, and I guess we should blitz through these awards, right?
Well, Taz, I wasn't going after you, man. I just was asking you a question. I mean, like, what's your bigger picture feel of this team? Like, my idea, I personally think that this Yankee team is a product of how bad the American League is rather than how good they are. Because, as I say, we've shown up in these series like the Dodgers embarrassed us. And the Red Sox are embarrassing us. We're below 500 against the American League. I'm just starting to question, are we even that good? Do you disagree, or what do you think, Tess? Yeah.
Tats, you're muted.
Forgot I muted it for the dog. Sorry. No, what I was trying to say is I understand. What I wanted to try to put out there is this series. Volpe or Dominguez, right? They might never make that base running ever again, right? Now with Volpe, I kind of didn't want to really harp on that because if he's safe, and then then it's a totally different story. And it had to go to review. That's how close that play was. So that's why I don't want to get on the stolen base too much, but I think it was just the situation was bad, not the fact that he tried to steal. If there was one out, it's a different story. But everybody wants to harp on that. Like, look at the big picture overall. This is the problem that the Yankees have fundamentally and, organization-wise, is they would rather, I want to say punt series like this. They have got to have some type of lecture or pep talk or something, because it just seems whenever they're playing these types of teams, as soon as one thing goes bad, everything collapses. That's not a championship team. But it's one of those, like, there's going to be haters of certain players that will be like, well, he can't, he can't remember how many strikes there are. He doesn't know how to run the bases. He can't steal a bit, and they'll be talking about that in October. And those are the things that kind of irk me a little bit. But this team really has some fundamental problems. We've been talking about this since we met, about how fundamentally flawed this organization is. And it does start with Boone. It's more Boone than just the players. But that's why at the start, when I started the show, I says everybody can get on, Judge for the strikeouts, but he did give us the highlight of the series. There were 8 other players that could have stepped up, and not one of them did.
I get it.
Awards. Let's hit it.
Right.
Right, my MVP is nice and simple. It is the Red Sox GM. Thank you so much for giving us a reprieve, because there is no Yankee that deserves an MVP. So it's the Red Sox GM is my MVP. The only one possible that can make Red Sox fans unhappy at sweeping the Yankees. So Red Sox GM. That white guy.
I didn't have an MVP. No Yankee deserved it.
Yeah, no, I didn't have an MVP either, but I'm with that. You would have to give it to the Red Sox GM. That made the sweep that much. It did soften the blow a lot.
Facts. Low-key MVP, Rob.
I had Max Fried for this one. I think he pitched his ass off. He was supposed to be the stopper. He pitched like an ace yesterday. 7 innings, 2 runs. I mean, you can't ask for much more from a guy coming off of a loss from a number 1 starter, and we just couldn't deliver for him. I feel bad for Fried, but he was, to me, the low-key MVP of this one.
Tats.
I had Yarbrough. I thought he really, he set the tone with the pitching in the first game. I thought he was just fine. He was just what we needed, especially after his last outing against Boston. It looked like he did his homework and was very much improved. And it was just, he gave up 1 run. So I had Yarbrough.
I'm giving it to Narvaez. Or maybe I should give it to Brian Cashman for giving them Narvaez. Imagine giving the Boston Red Sox their starting catcher. Who's having a better year than half the catchers or most of the catchers in the American League. And Brian Cashman basically gave him away for free. The Red Sox give us nothing, but we're giving away like free catchers. Hey, have a free starting catcher, Boston, to come and beat our asses with. Narvaez, low-key MVP.
Yeah, I think there is 7 or 8 starting catchers right now that came from our organization in the league.
Just disgusting. Clutch Award. I'm going to finally give it to a Yankee. Aaron Judge. Clutch moment. Moment of the season. Hands down moment of the season. What an incredible moment. He pimped it as well, which was just chef's kiss. He pimped it and looked in the Red Sox dugout. That was bad boy, big man. That was cool as shit. Unfortunately, the umpires conspired to make sure we lost that game, but Aaron Judge with the moment of the season. It was the first time since October, probably even since Soto's walk-off in the ALCS, not walk-off, but big home run in the ALCS to win us the ALCS. That was the first time I've celebrated Aaron Judge's home run. I was like, yeah, what a freaking moment. And it was robbed of us by umpiring. My clutch award, Aaron Judge. Rob.
It's Judge. He's the only clutch moment of the series for us.
Yep. That's
Yep, same. It's Judge.
absolutely. Pitching award, well, that's nice and easy for me. It's Max Fried, absolutely. Rob.
Max Fried, doubled down on him for the series. He was great.
Yep.
De Los Santos was really good as well. It's brought up, but Max Fried just should have been a win with the stat line like that.
Yeah, it's Fried.
Absolutely. Aaron Boone. Now, I'm going to absolutely shred him, right? But I do want to make it clear, he's not a bad manager. It's not that he is this disgraceful manager. He's incompetent. Any of that stuff. There's some things that he does very well. Players love him. Whether we love him or not is irrelevant. Players love him. Jazz loves him. Judge loves him. So he must do things right. I would say He's 50% of the way there to being a very good manager. Unfortunately, the other 50% in terms of fundamentals, holding people accountable, pitching decisions, general baseball IQ in big moments, all completely fall flat with Aaron Boone. So that's why he's the definition of an average manager. Maybe just slightly better than average, but he's basically just a mediocre manager. I'll give my rating after Rob.
I give him a 0. It's terrible.
My man.
No, I usually don't go into this route, but I went -10. You can't get swept by the Sox, especially when your pitching had you in the game all 3 games. The pitching absolutely did their job, and you did not have your bats, in the game. Your base running wasn't in the game. You get a negative.
I'm going to give him 1 point for getting himself thrown out for the DJ LeMahieu thing. I'm going to give him 1 point for that. Otherwise, it would be a 0. He himself didn't get himself run out of innings, but it just speaks to how complacent and disinterested and lazy that he runs that locker room. And I'm giving it 1 out of 10.
Just want to let my dad know you can't do -0. -0 is not a thing.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. -0 doesn't exist. It's a little bit concerning that your son knows that and you don't know that, bro.
What were they teaching in the freaking 70s in school?
That is concerning, bro.
-0.
FJ saying I'm into imaginary numbers for rating Boone. Minus like 3,000, minus 6,000. Yeah, it's bad.
They start color coding his grades like it's kindergarten class. We gotta change the cards when you were bad. Like right now, Boone's on yellow for me.
It's bad. It's bad. I mean, I don't know what number Aaron Boone is sitting at as we stand. Once we start collating this, he's probably sitting about a -2,000. All of us. It's not good. Doron says Boone simply gets an F. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. Boy Blue. I'm not gonna go through the whole theatrics this time. There's no Boy Blue. I can't give a Boy Blue. Are you kidding me? Dominguez? Just what day is it? Volpe, what day is it? Ben Rice? Oh, what day it is? Honestly, none of these guys showed up. But a clown show out there. Rob.
Yeah, I wanted to give it to the GM, but I don't want to say he's my boy because he's a Red Sox GM. But that was a very nice gesture from him, so thank you. But yeah, no Yankee really showed out besides Judge and some of the pitchers. But
yeah, and Judge didn't even show up. He had like 9.
Yeah, one good swing.
Yeah, 1 swing out of 10. Yeah, Tats.
Yeah, no, there's nobody. There was nobody on the Boy Blue.
No, it's not good. Right, we get to the L. Let's start with Rob.
I gave it to Volpe. He was somehow in a series with like a million mistakes. He had more than anybody else, whether it was defense, base running. I don't like that Boone applauded it. Yeah, it's Anthony Volpe. Terrible series from him.
My L went to Dominguez. There's scoreboards and graphics everywhere. How do you not know how many strikes there are? I thought that one, you could have just a game or two where you're a little off defensively. When you have a mental blunder like that, that is unexcusable. You can't escape a scoreboard these days with everything built up in these stadiums. So I don't want to hear it. I don't care what you thought. You thought wrong. You're the L.
Yeah, now I did overplay it in my first show, like that the umpires were like I was pissing them on because I overlooked a lot of the issues with the Yankees, but I'm still going to give the L to the umpires because the umpiring this series was abysmal. I mean, I showed the graphic of the ball clearly hitting the line. It's a fair ball. It's not foul. There was no question it was a fair ball. Um, that was disgrace. The fact that DJ LeMahieu just simply said bad call and he got chucked out the game is disgraceful. Aaron Boone got chucked out of the game for just simply throwing out his chewing gum, and it wasn't anywhere near any umpire. He got thrown out of the game for that. I don't think Aaron Boone really minded because he wanted to get his 2 cents in, but you also have to read the room. You know it's a high intense atmosphere, and the umpires completely misread that, and they just want to be the stars of the show. And they're certainly the first game, the strike zone to Aaron Judge was insane. And there was just a bunch of issues, actually. I think it happened most of the series. Some really, really bad umpiring. What about, I think there was a pitch clock violation as well during the series, and then there was some mouthing going on, and the umpires just lost complete control of this thing. They deserve the L. They are a horrible, horrible organization. Honestly, they're as bad as the Red Sox organization in terms of incompetence. They are so bad, like all of them, and it's not just the Yankee issue. It's been happening all through the league, and I just want to make that clear. It's not me like crying. It's not, the umpires aren't the reason why the Yankees got swept. The Yankees are the reason why the Yankees got swept. But the umpires were disgraceful. They ruined a great game one. Game one was great. It was all set to be a absolute thriller. It could have gone deep in the extras. Anything could have happened, and they took the game away from us. They took the game away from the fans. They took the game away from the sport, because that is what it's all about. Yankees, Red Sox at Fenway, tie game. We've just seen a pimped home run, and then the umpires started fucking around. So, and of course, New York overturning the ridiculous, well, not overturning, but the DJ LeMahieu stuff, just disgraceful. So they get the L, flat out L. I mean, I haven't asked you guys' opinion on the DJ LeMahieu stuff, and what did you think?
It was a fair ball.
Yeah.
If tennis, like Jason O's saying, if tennis can do it, why can't baseball do it?
Very good point.
I can't make it any more simple than that. It's a fucking joke.
It was
the replay system's a joke.
What did you think about the Anthony Volpe call? Because, like, that's another big talking point.
It was the right call.
Yeah.
He was out, but if there was enough evidence to overturn that, there should have been enough evidence to overturn DJ's. That's my argument. I'm not excusing Volpe, but if there was enough to overturn that, they should have overturned DJ's. Because the very next game, there was a double down the line that was called fair that probably should have been foul. So,
fact. I completely concur. Fact.
Yeah, no, it was the inconsistency of the review, of the review board. How do they get him? Like, Volpe was out. He lifted his fingers, and so he was. There was contact beforehand, and also the way it took so long for DJ's review. It's like, if it's taking you that long, this is something I heard in the broadcast. I think it was Kay, and I don't usually agree with him too much, but if it's going to take that long, the call has to stand. You can't, it's supposed to be an instant replay, not we're going to replay it until we figure out what we want to do. How can, and also at that crucial part of the game, I'm sorry, if it's taking more than a minute, they have to say it's unreviewable.
Yeah, it was a disgrace. Disgrace, flat out. Right, let's get to the fun stuff. Final awards: the Aaron Hicks Award, the Pablo Reyes Award, the New York Yankees Award. That's what it is. Here it is, the Aaron Hicks Award. Rob, who's your Aaron Hicks?
Greg Breslow, thank you for being an idiot. How do you trade the face of your franchise? after you sweep the Yankees. Your fans are elated. They're making fun of us, and they deservedly so. They're celebrating on our heads right now, and then you go ahead and take that all away from them by trading away their best player. So thank you. You're the Hicks for this series for sure.
Yeah, I had the umpires. They were completely atrocious and undeserving of getting a paycheck.
Well said. Well said. My Aaron Hicks, I was thinking about giving it to Aaron Boone. Not necessarily for his any moves, but his disgraceful attitude to the media, arrogant, complacent, snappy to Meredith Morogovich, who's just asking a simple question about base running blunders. A lot of that shit just rubs me the wrong way. She doesn't deserve that, and fans don't deserve to be gaslit that we didn't see base running blunders. It's a fucking lie. We did. But my Aaron Hicks award has to be Anthony Volpe, I'm afraid. I could have given it to a whole bunch of guys, but Anthony Volpe was the most disgraceful. Staring into space instead of covering second base, ridiculous errors, a short, launching a throw into the stratosphere to score a run. I don't know what he was doing. He is a low IQ baseball player, and I was trying to figure out why do I not really like this player? Because he works hard, he's a good kid, he's a decent player. What is it that rubs me the wrong way about him? And I was really trying to figure it out, and thankfully, his attitude this weekend painted it in neon signs for me. It's because he's a low IQ baseball player, and I just can't get behind low IQ players. He's an okay player. He's mediocre, the definition of mediocre, and that's not a bad thing, but he is a low IQ player. He does a lot of dumb things. He throws the ball away. He's just, what can I describe? All I can say is he's a low IQ player, and I'll never, ever get behind low IQ players. I'd much prefer someone with maybe slightly less physical ability, but who's always locked in and make the right plays all the time. He doesn't. Half the time he makes the stupidest things, and I'm pretty much done with him. That's it.
Well, that is also going to conclude the show as far as the award and with the awards. Hopefully, we could all get a good bounce back series coming up. We will be back on Wednesday, and I know I'm a little rushing this, but I do have an appointment to get to. I'll be doing a blood drive, so we'll close with that little bit. If you are able to, and you are able to donate blood, I strongly urge that everybody does that at least once, and help out your local blood supply for your hospitals. So, but with that, do hope that everybody did enjoy the rants, the raving. We enjoyed spending all Monday morning with you. So with that, just make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out, your friends, your family, strangers on the corner. This is the Pitch Strike Chronicles. We'll be back Wednesday, 10 a.m. live as always. Remember to wear those pinstripes with pride and play hard.